start out with saying Bawani, which in Yoruba means how are you doing? And I'm here today to speak about Oh What a Strange Place. And I want to talk to you about why 1% of the Blackland Prairie, which we stand on here now, is gone. What happened to the Arkansas River, which many of you might know it as the Trinity. And also, did you know that Dallas had a 6,000-acre forest here that was utilized by free slaves back in the day? So let's get into it. First, I just want to show you a 30-second clip of a visual of me in the woods to kind of give you a sense of who I am as a person and just what I've been going through. So let's take a look.
As I walk through the forest, I sense something watching me. I did not come here to be afraid. I came here to embrace what is already inside of me. As I listen and walk blindly, everything I do is resulting in a deep cleanse. I'll fall in harmony.
Okay. So, how many of you know about the Blackland Prairie by a raise of hands, or what that is, or any knowledge? Okay, you know about it. Perfect. So, the Blackland Prairie, let's look at the map. Dallas, I like to say, is like Africa because there's so many different diverse ecosystems that you can go anywhere in the state and feel like you're in a different place. So we're here, Blackland Prairie. It goes all the way. It goes all the way to San Antonio, and it's called the Blackland Prairie because of the dark soil. So think back to dinosaur times when the earth was just emerging with brick tiles, dinosaurs, and water. The Blackland Prairie was being built with the limestone, which calcified and created that dark soil, which is really fertile. So this is a picture of the ecosystem of the Blackland Prairie. It is very diverse, so it supports a biodiversity of everything. So we see this fire, for example. This land thrives off of different grasses that grow really tall, and it feeds the universe. So when that fire burns, the fire kind of sets everything straight every other year, burns it to the ground, and the bison that you see here, they stampede over that ground and they kind of till the soil. So after that, we have all this underground functioning going on, the reptiles and all of that, and they work cohesively to grow because the grass is the key ingredient to the Blackland Prairie. So let's take a look. How many of you have like gardens or plant flowers? Nice. So here in the Blackland Prairie, we talked about what's above, let's talk about what's below. So over here, we have like some daylilies, just some non-native grasses. So as you see, the non-native grasses, they only go about 3 feet into the ground, which for this land that we live on here is kind of bad because if you look at the native species, they go all the way down to 16 feet, 7 feet. Over here we have the compass plant, which goes to 15 feet, which holds that soil in the ground so when it rains, it doesn't erode and wash into our water and pollute it with the fertilizers. So if you ever want to plant plants, I would suggest you start with the native plants instead of non-native because that root is literally holding that soil together. So the Arkansas River, if we go way back in time, the Native Americans occupied this land and they named it the Arkansas River. So if you look here, I just put a little picture in of, it goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. This is like, I feel like the Nile River of Africa, but the Trinity is our Nile River. So, you see Dallas here? This is the 6,000 acres of forest that we have here in Dallas. That's me in the forest doing my thing, and I captured this picture of a butterfly that is on a native plant that's using that pollen to feed its soul so it can go ahead and migrate on to the north. So, like I said, 6,000 acres, 92% of that is woodland. 500 acres of that is water, grasslands, and urban area, like you see the background of Dallas. And unfortunately, this forest was not natural. It was man-made due to the immersed erosion of the soil from non-native plants, but it plays a crucial role in our oxygen here in Dallas. So let's continue. We have some beautiful animals here in Dallas. We have the painted bird, which originated in South America, but it's so tropical, but it lives here. It's also an endangered species. We have the red feathered owl. We have a snake over here, which is a poisonous coral snake. We have green tree frogs, and we also have bobcats. And you might even see them in the city because the forest is being so torn down that they're coming into the city because they don't have any more forests. So, the Arkansas River is about 710 miles, and it played an important role in the transportation, irrigation, and the Native Americans traveling. This was the source of why Dallas was created. And in the 19th century, steamboats and things actually flowed on this river. But fast forwarding to today, when the colonials came over, they tried to straighten the Trinity, and it ended up just taking all of the beautiful attributes out. And now it's not accessible. Like, we can't drink, we can't swim in it, we can't enjoy that water because it's polluted, which is unfortunate. So the big question is, how did we get down to 1% of the Blackland Prairie? Was it the settlers? Was it the water? Was it because we killed off the bison? Or is it simply because it's us? So, to the left of me, I have a picture of what's the thriving Blackland Prairie. And over here, this is what it's turned into. How many of you are familiar with the Atlantic slave trade? By a raise of hands. Yeah, so you're pretty familiar with cotton. So let's talk about the natives. In 1841, John Neely, he was the first settler that came from Tennessee to Dallas. He brought over a lot of settlers that came over, and as more and more settlers began to come over, the natives began to lose their land because they were thinking, hey, this is fertile ground, we're gonna grow cotton, we're gonna grow agriculture, we're gonna take the land from the natives and we are gonna make it our own. Which this was like a very crucial moment into it. So we have the natives that lived here. And as you see, they use those grasses to build their homes, they use those grasses as food, and they use bison to eat. So in 1845, the Europeans that came over told them, hey, you gotta get out of here in a year. And so a year is not enough time for people to pack up, take down their tents, and move on. But eventually, in 1846, they used tactics of violence, torture, and they killed the bison, and they burned all of the Blackland Prairie. And when you take away the bison, you take away the food supply, you take away the natives. So they had to walk all the way to, I think, Oklahoma, and they died of starvation, and they also died of diseases from the Europeans that they brought over. So it wiped it out. So now we fast forward to the African slaves. So who's gonna pick that cotton? Who's gonna grow that stuff? They used us for that. So they had us working from sunrise to sunset, picking cotton, sugar plantains, all of that stuff. And as we came here, as you see in this picture, we worked hard. People worked so hard that the muscle of their arms fell off. And when you have a gun to your back and being told to work, 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 you have no choice but to keep working. So this land here was really dominated by cotton production. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Deep Ellum, but this newspaper article tells us about how when you go down to Deep Ellum, you see all the old buildings that people live in. It was the #1 generator of cotton and making the cotton gin. And that's a lot because when you think about cotton, you think like other southern states, but Dallas was the #1 producer of cotton. And we had 2,000 slaves here that filled up about half of the population of the blacks that were enslaved, picking cotton. So I just wanted to give you some examples of what took place. In 1859, a slave named Mary was whipped to death because she failed to pick enough cotton. In 1860, a group of slaves, they wanted to escape for a better life, and they were killed, beaten, and tortured in front of their counterparts to set the standard that when you run away, we will find you. And that's why sometimes, as black people, we're scared of dogs, because dogs were used to hunt down African Americans in the woods. So that trauma was passed down. And in 1862, a slave named John was killed due to the fact he was so tired and overworked that he just wanted a water break. He was shot dead. Here's some more pictures too. And if you want to get more in-depth information, if you know about the African American Museum down at, what is it called, where the State Fair is, they have an exhibit called the Cotton Exhibit, because I don't know if you know, October 4th was Cotton Picking Day in Dallas, and it's a day that we celebrate to recognize that we did that hard work and we built the foundations of the city. So lastly, I just want to wrap up and say, when you look at the Blackland Prairie and only know that there's 1% left, just look at how it was. It was beautiful and it thrived. And we can still carry that out today through doing volunteer work and just actually going out into nature and interacting with these native plants. So I challenge all of you guys to get informed, get out there in nature, and really just embrace Dallas because we have nature here. You just have to find it. And lastly, if you want to support my mission, I am selling my bundle, which comes with the CD. It comes with a t-shirt and a little cool sticker. And if you want to keep up with me on social media, you can scan this and follow me on social media. Thank you guys so much for your time.